Welcome, welcome one and all to your Spa retreat for this weekend. It's the Belgian Grand Prix and it's round 10 of the Formula One season in 2026. We race around the longest track on the Formula One calendar for the 59th time in the Formula One World Championship, officially the 71st World Championship Belgian Grand Prix. At 4.35 miles, 44 laps to come, 19 corners, 10 to the left and 9 to the right, and just 150 metres from pole position to the first braking zone at La Source, and then it's flat out all the way down through Rouge, up Raidillon and towards the Kemmel Straight. Can Kimi Antonelli hold on to the lead and lead the first lap? He's led the last 8 consecutive Grand Prix. He's been in imperious form so far this weekend and he'll start on pole. C4 is the soft tyre, C3 the medium, probably the favoured starting tyre, C2 is the hard, which can last the full race distance, but you've got to run 2 compounds. There's a slight bit of moisture on the lens of the Helicam. At this time last year we had an 80-minute rain delay. Heavy rain here in Spa. There's a little bit of rain coming in that might just hit us before we get underway. Here's our starting grid. Fernando Alonso and Isaac Hadjar right at the back as they've completely changed their power units and were sent to the back of the grid. Lance Stroll had a 10-place grid penalty. Carlos Sainz the same for him after qualifying in P14. It's another all Cadillac row. Perez 18th, Bottas 17th, but this time that's the best start of the season for Valtteri Bottas. Esteban Ocon couldn't get out of Q1, he starts 16th alongside Alex Albon, who missed Q2 by 7 thousandths of a second. Ollie Behrman inherits P14 from Carlos Sainz alongside Lando Norris, 10-place grid penalty for him. Nico Hülkenberg is 12th alongside Franco Colapinto, who's been out-qualified by Pierre Gasly for 3 races in a row now. Gasly starts 10th alongside Liam Lawson, a 5th consecutive top 10 start for the Kiwi. Ahead of these, Gabriel Bortoleto with Audi's highest start in Formula One, Arvid Lindblad with his highest start in Formula One alongside. Oscar Piastri starts 6th. Lewis Hamilton has his worst grid spot since Canada 5 Grand Prix ago. Charles Leclerc starts in P4 when nobody has ever won here at Spa in a World Championship Grand Prix. George Russell is 3rd, behind Max Verstappen on the front row for the 3rd time this year, and Kimi Antonelli with a 6th pole of 2026, aiming for a 6th win. And Martin Brundle, not many in the paddock think that he can be stopped today.
He's certainly been fast throughout, hasn't he? Long runs, short runs. I hope Max Verstappen can get that Red Bull off the start line in a good way and really fight it out. Verstappen's 103 points behind Antonelli. Antonelli has to think about his World Championship. Max just wants to think about victories and getting back on track with Red Bull. George Russell is sitting in a really handy place there, right along behind his teammate in 3rd on the grid, but he's got 2 Ferraris in his mirrors as well. There is one of them, Lewis Hamilton. And the sky continuing to look a little bit grey up there in places, but at the moment it is of course bone dry.
We should go to Sky Race Control then, because Bernie Collins has got her mate Ray with him, with her, Radar, that is. What's the rain saying?
Yeah, exactly, Crofty. I think around 5 minutes time we'll be starting to get some light spits here at the circuit, and then there's some heavier rain behind that. Now, the question mark is at this stage, is that heavy enough to promote an inter-tyre? Bit unclear. It continues to change as it always does around Spa as it gets towards us, but you know, it's a significant mark on the radar. There's around 30 minutes of that light rain at least, so let's see if that's enough to affect this circuit or to get these drivers off a dry tyre.
Yeah, around here often, as Bernie knows well, but you better to tiptoe on slicks because a set of inters, if it's not wet enough, are destroyed in a lap or 2. But we saw the Ferrari was on medium compound tyres, and in fact everybody down to 12th place. Nico Hülkenberg on medium, and then Lando Norris on the hard compound. He's out of position after that 10th-place grid drop in 13th. He's hoping to go long.
Hard tyres too for Sergio Perez, Stroll, Hadjar, interesting for Red Bull, and Alonso. Soft tyres for Carlos Sainz and Valtteri Bottas, hoping to make up places on the first lap. And Lando Norris trying to do something he's never done before in Formula One, and what is his 161st start? Here he is, ties the career total of Ayrton Senna, and that's finished on the podium from outside the top 10 on the grid.
So Lando needs to make sure he doesn't fall to the back of the grid, because then he's got plenty of time to get back into his position. But somebody struggling to get away there in the Alpine.
Might have been Colapinto just ahead of him that was having a slight issue, but they should be all off the grid. Yes, they are. Fernando Alonso just pootling past us now.
I'm going to imagine that Mercedes are telling Kimi Antonelli about that, because he's sort of thick end of a half a lap ahead of them now with that really tardy getaway.
There's at least a 2-mile difference, isn't there, between where Kimi Antonelli is and where Fernando Alonso is on this formation lap. Down on pit lane duty for us today, Moët Chandon, good afternoon.
Good afternoon, Crofty, and everyone listening at home. It's a hive of activity. Mechanics coming off the grid. But I'll tell you what, on the pit walls, everyone's doing it the old school way, Crofty. Arms sticking out, trying to feel for the rain. The radar is up on every television screen. I'm standing right behind Ferrari, Carlos Santi, Lewis Hamilton's race engineer, and Jerome D'Ambrosio, a Belgian from this part of the world. Both climbed off the wall to try and look for the clouds. I'm not sure they are fully trusting the radar here, because it is so tricky to read accurately what's going to happen up here in the mountains. So yeah, lots of people using the old school method, their hands and eyes, to see if the rain's coming.
And on this formation lap, Oscar Piastri reporting light rain at turn 1, La Source, where the weather is coming in from. Nothing so far from George Russell. It could be rain or it could be sweat. You know, we've had that situation for George in the past.
But as always, when it's lightly drizzling, it streams off your visor and always gives you the impression that it's raining harder than it is when you're doing a couple of 100 miles an hour through it. But it shouldn't be a problem for them at all. And they want to back that pack up now. Alonso's still out there in turn 12 as the front runners are approaching their grid positions. But they'll close that up. And then it's such a short run down to the first one. We've seen some big shunts here in the past, because the pack are virtually guaranteed to arrive together. You've got relatively cold front tyres because they've been sitting on the grid. You've lit up your rear tyres with 1,000 horsepower, so they're a little bit warmer. You've got full tanks of fuel. Your brakes are not that warm. Picking a braking point for this first hairpin, not locking up your brakes and not running into others, is quite the task.
There is Fernando Alonso. It's still not made it to the final chicane, and our front two have been sat on that grid for a while. For the third time this season, it's a front row of Kimi Antonelli on pole and Max Verstappen alongside him in that P2 spot. Last time was Monaco. Max had that engine issue, ended in a DNF for him. Not the best afternoon for him on that occasion. Let's keep our fingers crossed he gets a better getaway today and we can get some action into turn 1. We are ready and set on the grid then for this Belgian Grand Prix, and let the revs rise on our grid before we see the lights ahead of the drivers. 2026 Belgian Grand Prix. It's lights out and away we go. Kimi Antonelli, good start. George Russell trying to get alongside Max Verstappen. Leclerc and Hamilton behind these two. Verstappen has it covered. Russell on the inside, good line from him. Now might get the slipstream behind Verstappen, running down towards Eau Rouge. Lewis Hamilton trying to get through there as well. Russell's under pressure, no straight line speed for him, and they're in front. Max Verstappen has taken the lead of the Belgian Grand Prix from Kimi Antonelli, who's now going to come back at him down the Kemmel Straight. Look at the pace of the Mercedes, look at the pace of the Ferrari. Max Verstappen swallowed up by the chicane. Antonelli leads.
Russell and Hamilton hit.
From Leclerc, Russell and Hamilton make contact. Russell in the gravel, Hamilton continues on. Lindblad's lost out to Lawson in the Racing Bulls. What an action-packed first lap.
That's bad news for George Russell and his World Championship campaign, as he tangled up there at turn 5 with Lewis Hamilton on the inside of him. Otherwise, it was all pretty clean, but Max Verstappen obviously boosted big time and got the run through Eau Rouge and Raidillon, and then, of course, didn't have any answer for the power of the Mercedes and the Ferrari climbing the hill up to Les Combes.
He knew his best chance to get Kimi Antonelli was on the opening lap, went for the gamble, didn't pay off, and he's now down in third place with Charles Leclerc moving up. Lewis Hamilton fourth, Lindblad up to fifth, Lawson sixth, then Colapinto, Bortoletto, Lando, Norris in ninth, and Pierre Gasly in 10th.
That's a start from Norris. Piastri is way down the field in 22nd at the moment. What's happened to Oscar Piastri?
So I would imagine he's got involved in that Hamilton-Russell kerfuffle, and George Russell out of this race.
Yeah, Piastri's not down in 22nd. That's a problem with the computer we're looking at here. He's obviously got a sensor issue because he's right up there behind Max Verstappen.
Oh, thank goodness for that. Safety car is out. Bert Mailander has been employed, so he will now back up the pack. And that is Esteban Ocon down in 15th, and he's got damage. As you can see, the car scraping along the ground.
So I'm going to suggest that hopefully for him, that is a puncture. Karun.
You go Red Bull in the pit lane, I think. Isaac Hadjar is coming in here. You can see all the mechanics are out. Ferrari ran in to get their helmets on as well, the mechanics. They wondered about a front wing issue. Ollie Behrman coming in the pits as well as the Cadillac. So lots of activity. Hadjar's being held. Hadjar's had to wait for the two Cadillacs to come through.
Thanks ever so much, Karun. You save about 10 seconds of your race time by pitting behind the safety car. So if you weren't on the hard tyre, good time to get the hard tyres on now. But of course, Isaac Hadjar did start on the hard tyre, and he's now onto the mediums.
Yeah, whether the medium can do the entire race remains to be seen. Bit surprised that Sainz didn't pit to get rid of those soft compound tyres. That would, because a set of hard compound tyres we do expect could do pretty much all the distance.
As they make their way past George Russell's Mercedes, that's going to need some recovering, and the gravel's going to need sweeping. Let's have a look at the race start. Now, for once, for Kimi Antonelli, it was a perfect getaway off the line. Charles Leclerc, I think, reacts a little quicker than George Russell, and George Russell's got that inside line, which is a good line to take, and now it all unfolds, Martin.
Yeah, you can see Max Verstappen there in second place. He's obviously using a lot of battery deployment. Antonelli tries to cover him, can't do that all the way through there, but that puts Verstappen into the lead, but pretty defenseless then, heading such a long slog up the hill. George Russell is out of battery there as well. Look, they're just mugging him all the way down to Leclerc. Russell then late on the brakes, now goes around the outside of Lewis. Gave Lewis, I have to say, racing room on the inside there. You always have to be wary of cold front tyres and full fuel loads in a situation like that, but we're about to find out. I think George did give him enough space, but Lewis has obviously just had a little slide across the track. There goes Russell now.
It's a little snap of oversteer, isn't it? Mid-corner from Lewis there.
Sort of 6 of one, half a dozen of another, isn't it? That, for me, that'll be perceived as a racing incident. It has been noted. 3 times in the past.
Car crossed over in front of me. I was right behind another car, so I had no front end.
Yeah, that's that little snap of oversteer. George is like, what has happened here? 3 times in the past. Lewis Hamilton's been out on lap 1 twice at that chicane. Yeah. And with Jenson Button a few years back, I remember too, but he's got out of any trouble on that occasion. Carlos Sainz tags Esteban Ocon.
Which is why Ocon is probably sparking a bit. So has it damaged some bodywork?
He carries on, Esteban Ocon.
Having quite a few adventures.
Oh, and that's his teammate, Ollie Behrman, as they rub wheels through the Fanier chicane. The Mercedes has been recovered now. Oh, and he could have easily picked up that puncture heading off into the gravel as well.
Yeah, I don't know which one of those contacts gave him the puncture. Plenty of them. He could well have been fighting the car before that point, almost certainly.
Another pit stop, this time for Isaac Hadjar. So they've got him back on to the hard tyre. He had 2 new sets of the hard compound tyre. That's him to the end of the race, I think, attempting that. Bernie Collins, to you.
Yeah, just going to pick up on that, Crofty. They've done that cycle through the medium tyre. They're now compliant with the regulation to fit 2 sets of dry tyres, run that hard to the end. They don't need to do a further pit stop. So smart there from Red Bull, but still worth keeping an eye on that radar, because obviously sounds like they're expecting no more rain.
Bernie, would you have expected Williams to bring Sainz in and just get rid of those soft tyres?
There's 2 feelings on the soft tyre. Is it too early to stop on that strategy? Maybe they're still worried a little bit about the rain. This safety car will actually help the soft tyre because it allows you to bring the surface down just a little bit, get the temperatures under control. So the soft tyre will be very good at the restart, and potentially if that rain comes, the 2 pit stops that Hadjar has done has promoted him to the back of the field, where Carlos Sainz didn't need to do that.
So lap 3 of this Belgian Grand Prix, with Bert Mailander still leading the cars round in single file. George Russell and Lewis Hamilton separated by, 7 points at the start of this Grand Prix. Lap 1 incident. Lewis Hamilton now has the opportunity to put a few more points between himself and his Mercedes rival there. Kimi Antonelli has an opportunity to start extending his championship lead over his Mercedes teammate. This could not have gone worse for George Russell.
Absolutely. Recent history here tells us there's an 80% chance of a safety car of some kind, and well, that's just gone up
Yes.
beyond 80%, hasn't it? Because we're into a safety car already. But I think that plays out extremely well for Isaac Hadjar. He'll obviously got to cycle through an awful lot of people, but he could just keep ploughing on when a lot of them have to make a pit stop.
Now the stewards are now looking at that Lewis Hamilton-George Russell incident. It is under investigation. We have seen drivers get penalties in the past when they've had that little snap of oversteer and they've made contact with another car, and accidental or not, the stewards have given penalties for that in the past.
Let's see what they do. Lewis is obviously slightly nervous about it because he felt the need to get the justification over, knowing that will be fed in to the system as to whether they think he lost control of his car. For me, it's a racing incident. Yeah. It'd be frustrating for George. George, unquestionably, left more than a car's width on the inside. So I don't think there's any finger pointing at George Russell in that. But Lewis is saying, I'm up behind another car. It's first lap. I've lost downforce on my front wing because I'm tucked up underneath another car's gearbox, and not a lot I could do about it. If the stewards decide that constitutes a loss of control of your car, he will get a penalty.
Well explained. Thank you, Martin. 44 laps to come. We wait to see what happens to car number 44. So Antonelli from Leclerc, and we did see then the speed before the safety car, who's coming in this lap, before the safety car came out, the speed of that Mercedes with Kimi Antonelli along the Kemmel Straight.
Absolutely. Pretty handy for Lando Norris, isn't it? He's already up to 10th, but now the pack's all been closed up again, he can start again. So that enhances Lando Norris's chance of a decent haul of points today, because normally he would have had to be working through them and been 10, 12 seconds off the lead by the end of the first lap from where he started.
So there is your race leader, Kimi Antonelli, and your championship leader too. Just looking, who else has this safety car helped? Ollie Behrman is now on the hard compound tyre. He's switched from the medium to the hard. He might be down in P17, but he's got the opportunity to run to the end of the race from there. Alonso and Stroll, one thing the Aston Martins can do is start well. They don't often survive in those positions for long, but up to P15 and P16.
Yeah, and obviously they haven't pitted, but do you remember us watching Fernando spinning his rear wheels out of the last corner while the other's been on the grid for half a minute? So he's got some nice rear tyre temperature as Fernando and Lance Stroll at the back.
Right, green flags are being waved now. You can't overtake until you get to the line. So Hamilton was having a little look there on Oscar Piastri, but he's not allowed to go past him until they cross the line and start the next lap, which they have done now. Antonelli from Leclerc, then Verstappen, and Piastri under pressure from Hamilton, who makes the dive down the inside into La Source. Very nice under braking from Hamilton. Did he have to use a bit of boost? Is he vulnerable now to a re-attack from Piastri? Looks like he is. Piastri's manager, Mark Webber, did this once to Fernando Alonso. Piastri's done it himself, overtaking through Eau Rouge.
Has he got any power left for the top of the hill? Piastri reacting immediately. Got a little bit caught out there by Lewis coming out. In fact, Lewis is struggling for pace at the top of the hill. He did use a lot of power down the pit straight to get that position, and it left him vulnerable, but all is fine for Piastri and Hamilton at the moment.
Lando Norris getting interested with Gabriel Bortoletto on the hard compound tyre, but he didn't quite have the ability under braking to squeeze past the Audi, and already the gap over a second out in front. Antonelli to Leclerc. Hamilton racing under investigation currently for that incident with George Russell that's left Russell out of this race. As through Pouhon we go with the midfield, and now down towards the Fanny chicane with our leader, Max Verstappen. Verstappen hanging on in there in P3 currently, just waiting to see where there's an opportunity to get alongside Charles Leclerc. But the more you use your energy to try and overtake, the more vulnerable you're going to be if you've used a bit too much, because there's only a certain amount on each lap.
Those stones on the track shouldn't be a puncture issue, and they'll very quickly be cleared off the racing line anyway. We've seen red flags, haven't we, to clear those up during practice sessions, but obviously you're not going to do that in the race. As they head towards the end of the lap, you can see the lights flashing where batteries are being charged, and a really clumsy little final chicane and a short run. When we were talking about the line, we meant that line there, the capital L, the start and finish line. That's the reference point, because you'll see lots of lines across the track here and there for straight line mode, etc.
Pierre Gasly almost getting alongside Gabriel Bortoleto out of La Source, and the run down to Eau Rouge. She's got a really nice exit, and Max Verstappen's been using his boost again. Gasly gets past Bortoleto. Verstappen is gaining here on Charles Leclerc. He's picking up the slipstream as well, and he's now alongside the Ferrari, braking into Les Combes. Max Verstappen takes second place from Charles Leclerc.
Let's see if he's been eating his sweeties all at the same time up there, and if he's got any power in once they've gone down the hill and through the middle sector, which is about 47-48 seconds in race trim. But in all of that, Lando Norris moves up to P9 already.
Yep, he's got past Gabriel Bortoleto. The racing laps have been good from Lando Norris, and never got onto the podium, starting outside the top 10. That is his challenge today. His pace has been very good, qualified P3 before that 10th place grid penalty. That is his teammate Oscar Piastri. Hamilton just dropped back a little bit behind the McLaren of Oscar Piastri. A great move through Eau Rouge. And I'm sure Mark Webber, his manager, was sat in the McLaren hospitality going, yep, I did that, 2010, which was...
It's one of the bravest moves I've ever seen. It was actually even more wild than that, because he was still alongside halfway through Eau Rouge into Raidillon. So, one of the greatest overtakes I've ever seen. Mark Webber's there.
Mark Webber won the last Grand Prix that took place on World Cup final day, 2010 British Grand Prix. Spain went on and won the World Cup that day. So if Oscar Piastri wins this race, then that'll be a good omen for the Spanish national side a little later on, if they need one.
And you have to get up pretty early in the morning if you want to mug Fernando Alonso around the outside of Eau Rouge and Raidillon.
That is very true. Max Verstappen hovering around that 1 second mark where you get the overtake, extra half a megajoule of energy. It replaces DRS for this year behind Kimi Antonelli, but Charles Leclerc has got half a second behind Max Verstappen, and he could be a threat, but behind him, Piastri could be a threat to Leclerc. Ferrari don't think they've got straight line speed here, and that might be being shown right at this moment as Piastri gets ever closer to the Ferrari of Leclerc. Hamilton in the slipstream too, keeping tabs on this one, and we're watching Lando Norris behind Colapinto, but too far back.
That was a great lap from Max Verstappen. It's really brought him into play, you know. He's cleared the Ferrari, stayed ahead, and now he's actually keeping the Mercedes very much in sight. So a really effective lap and a half for Max Verstappen.
And this is the part of the track where the Red Bull's been very, very good this weekend. In the middle sector, they think this is their best race in terms of their cornering speed and their cornering ability of the season so far. And we've definitely seen they have the advantage in the middle part of this lap. On the straights, well, they might have the best engine according to the FIA's figures. They've been losing out in terms of top speed. On board with Hamilton, who's getting back on terms with Oscar Piastri, and Piastri keeping Charles Leclerc interested too. We saw that radio message from Ollie Behrman about Carlos Sainz's front wing, which I would imagine he's damaged a bit when he tagged into La Source at the start. Behrman's Haas teammate Esteban Ocon. They're battling for 14th currently. Here comes the McLaren of Oscar Piastri into the bus stop chicane. Charles Leclerc has planted his Ferrari in a very nice position to keep Piastri at bay. Lando Norris has got Colapinto and up into 8th place as we head down towards La Source, with Piastri late on the brakes, but not late enough.
Yeah, if you can force a driver to have to go defensive and be offline and a bit scrappy with how he's using his tyres, particularly his power unit, you can really put them under pressure. That also means they can't follow the driver in front.
That slipstream is very effective here. Active aero. Both cars have got an opening in the rear wing and the front wing cutting down to dump the drag as well. He's halfway alongside Oscar Piastri, who dares to brake latest. They touched, and there's a little bit of damage, I think, came off the Ferrari. Piastri has lost out. Hamilton's now all over his rear wing, but 2 into 1 did not go into Leclerc for the second time in this race.
The stewards will be looking at that, not leaving a car's width in the braking zone. Piastri will be on the phone complaining about that, so we'll take a look at it. But Charles Leclerc might find himself on the receiving end of an investigation there.
Last time out, race winner Charles Leclerc. 2 weeks later, very much in the thick of it, running P3 currently and keeping Piastri behind him.
I didn't leave enough space. There could have been a massive crash. You saw?
And there's a bit of debris at that corner at Leclerc as well, which I think came off the Ferrari, and the marshals on the track currently to try and retrieve that. Lap 8 of 44, and the gap now 1.5 seconds out in front, Antonelli over Verstappen.
It's the longest track on the calendar by a margin, actually, and because of the safety car, they're all packed up around one part of the track. It is fine to put marshals on the track at the moment, because you know the cars will not be round for another minute.
Well, they're going to be getting there very soon. Ferrari lead McLaren, lead Ferrari in the battle for 3rd, 4th and 5th currently over the line. There's the gap down to 1 second again. Verstappen behind Antonelli. Lewis Hamilton a lot closer now to Oscar Piastri than he has been for 2 or 3 laps, and he'll be picking up a tow and a slipstream as the McLaren punches a hole through the air all the way as they rise over Raidillon to the Leclerc chicane. Now onto the Camel Straight we go, and the speeds of about 200 miles an hour. Already that McLaren, the light flashing and charging up the battery. Hamilton will love to see that, because that gives him an opportunity to take 4th place, which he does. And I don't think Piastri had much to defend on that occasion.
I'd be intrigued to know what actually did fly up in the air, the carbon fibre confetti, because it'll be affecting somebody's downforce. Let's see if we can see it now.
Well, this is Piastri. There's room at the moment to try and get past. Then it gets squeezed. That might have come actually off Piastri's front wing.
Yeah, that's what I'm
end plate.
thinking.
Yeah,
that's what I'm thinking. It's noted. I think Charles is going to have a problem on that.
I think Oscar Piastri might have a problem as well, losing downforce, as you suggested. His teammate Lando Norris is now right on the back of Liam Lawson. Now, these are the important ones for Lando Norris, with all due respect to those that he's overtaken so far. The Racing Bulls has been a nice car this weekend, so how long can Lawson and Lindblad thwart his progress?
Well, remember Andrea Stella in our media briefing this morning for TV Folk said, I think we're fine until we get to the Racing Bulls, because they're genuinely fast. You'll not blow past those 2 cars. You'll not breeze past them easily.
5-second time penalty for Lewis Hamilton as Fernando Alonso goes round the outside of Liam Lawson and picks up 7th place. Hamilton for causing a collision with George Russell that's left George Russell out of this Belgian Grand Prix has a 5-second time penalty. Stewards thinking that it wasn't a racing incident. He could have done more.
Yeah, well, they've got the steering traces, they've got the throttle traces, way more camera angles, data. That's their decision. I don't think it's one I would have made, but then I don't have all the other pieces of information that they have. I think Charles Leclerc's probably in greater danger of a penalty than Lewis Hamilton, but let's see how that plays out. I'll tell you what, they're keeping Max Verstappen honest, aren't they?
They certainly are. Max Verstappen, 1.5 seconds behind Kimi Antonelli. I just recall an incident, I think it was first turn in Barcelona a few seasons ago, where the stewards gave a penalty for a very, very similar instance like that, which is why I just referenced it a little earlier on. They have all the access to the historical data, and they can pull up replays as well in the stewards room, and they decided on this occasion it's a 5-second penalty for Hamilton, so he'll serve that when he comes in for his pit stop. But when is that pit stop going to be? We're up to lap 10 now, and if Ferrari feel that Hamilton is just getting a little bit held up, or Leclerc is getting a little bit held up behind Verstappen, the undercut is available to them from about here onwards. Antonelli, meanwhile, is starting to pull out a bit of a lead here, and a bit more of a lead.
Antonelli can just mind his own business out front, can't he? Drive drive it smoothly, look after his tyres. His engine and brakes will be a little bit cooler out there, and he's just in the sweet spot, just keeping Max Verstappen out of the overtake mode at more than a second behind him. So Antonelli just pacing it absolutely beautifully.
Before this race started, he had led Kimi Antonelli 264 laps out of 559 in Grand Prix in 2026, about 47% of all the racing laps, and he's led at least 10 of the racing laps here so far today as well. A 9th consecutive Grand Prix that he's been out in the lead. Behind him, Max Verstappen under pressure a little bit now. Is he starting to struggle on tyres, I wonder? The Ferraris are getting closer, and Piastri, we have damage, he's been told, to the right-hand side of his floor. So confirmation there that Piastri's losing a bit of time.
Norris did not make it past Lindblad on the climb up to the chicane on that lap. He's very, very close behind him, as you can see. Karun.
Hamilton's carrying damage in this race for Lewis Hamilton on the front wing. One of the dive planes he lost in that first contact with George Russell. He's also got some damage to the barge board, and I'm not sure, Ferrari haven't confirmed whether that was from the that first lap incident as well, but I assume so. So Lewis in that fight still within a second of Charles Leclerc, but carrying damage on the red car.
Yep, it's a car that's been in the wars a little bit this weekend. Has Lewis Hamilton's big crash down here at the Fagnes chicane in FP3, like Pierre Gasly as well. They just glanced the tyre barrier and did some extensive damage on that occasion. Lap 11 of 44 here. Arvid Lindblad running in the top 6 for the first time since Australia and China. His first 2 Grand Prix in Formula 1, keeping Lando Norris at bay for the time being. The stewards are now looking at the Charles Leclerc-Oscar Piastri incidents. They've looked at Lewis Hamilton's, they've given him the time penalty. Is Leclerc going to suffer a similar fate?
Yeah, if Norris needs to clear Lindblad as quickly as possible, of course, but he really does need to, because actually with penalties and damage and what have you ahead of him, it's not out of the question that Lando could get a podium today.
Right, 2 Ferraris, Lewis Hamilton right on the white line there and just given enough space by his teammate Charles Leclerc. He's trying to get alongside. The 2 Ferrari-powered engines matching each other, and Leclerc has that one covered for the time being. Norris has got Lindblad into the chicane. Gasly has got his teammate Colapinto, and Nico Hülkenberg has got Alex Albon along that Kemmel straight. 3 overtakes for the price of 1.
The rule says you must leave a car's width, which is what Charles did there to his teammate. I always think it should be a car's width and a little bit, because a car's width means you can be rubbing tyres, but that's the rule. You can't move in the braking zone, and if you're returning back to the racing line, you must, and a car's there, you must leave them a car's width, but you don't want to leave them too much more.
Well, George Russell thought there was space enough at the Le Combe chicane. There was. Then Lewis Hamilton hit him, and George Russell is out of this race. And before the 5-second penalty for Hamilton was announced, George was talking in the media pen to Craig Slater.
Well, George, awful disappointment for you. What was your assessment of the incident? I don't know if you've watched it back with Lewis. What do you think?
Well, I just got totally swallowed up down the straight. I lost 3 positions down the straight, down into turn 5, and then the incident was a racing incident. Maybe I could have gone a bit wider, maybe he could have braked a bit more. The incident shouldn't have happened if I had the speed down the straight. Yeah, very, very disappointed.
Yeah. Listen, it could cost you an awful lot of points relative to Kimi at the end of today. How can you get your head around that?
Nothing to say. No words at the moment. It's just, Yeah, and
just finally, you've got this issue to deal with as well. I mean, speaking to Toto in advance there, he thinks a solution can be found to give you parity of equipment, at least at the team. I mean, I know it seems everyone's confused, but can you take some heart from that?
I appreciate everyone's working hard to solve the problem, but I'm stood here on lap 5 of the race, and felt like I was in a good position to fight for the lead up to turn 1, and then suddenly no power and it's all gone.
Sorry, George. Thank you.
It has not been a good weekend for George Russell. He sounds quite tearful there.
Yeah, he's upset. What he's saying is, look, I should never have been in that position in the first place. You know, yeah, whatever. Me and Lewis have tripped over each other. He, like me, thought it was a racing incident, but it's almost like that's irrelevant. I shouldn't have been there. What's going on with my car? And you've got your foot flat to the floor, and it's not accelerating. Presumably they'll find a reason for it, but it seems extremely confusing all round, doesn't it?
Certainly does. He believes he should have more pace in his car. Lewis Hamilton believes he's got more pace than Charles Leclerc at the moment, which he probably has, because he's got the overtake available to him. Extra half a megajoule of energy. Whether he'd have that same pace when he overtakes Charles Leclerc, we might wait and see, or Ferrari might decide to swap them around. But at the moment, I think they're both losing a bit of time.
Yeah, we obviously couldn't see George in that. He was on the verge of tears, apparently, in that interview.
He sounded tearful.
Absolutely distraught with, this is a chunk. He got it back to 25 points deficit, and this is a very difficult day for him.
Certainly is. The championship lead for Kimi Antonelli will increase, and as it stands, it will be this man, Lewis Hamilton, taking over at that second place. If you're just joining us, just to reiterate, Lewis Hamilton will have a 5-second time penalty, though, to serve at his pit stop for causing that collision with George Russell. And, well, that might cost him a place to Oscar Piastri. He seems to be fairly clear of Lando Norris currently, but Norris is lapping quicker than Lewis Hamilton, and on the hard tyre has the ability to go that much longer into this first stint. Yeah,
and what a cracking set of tyres Lando's going to have at the end of the Grand Prix with lower fuel and a new set of mediums. Lando will be very, very quick in the closing stages of this race.
We'll see how long they want to hang that one out for at McLaren. The option might be there to put a soft tyre on. Sergio Perez thinks that he's got a broken suspension. I think he's come into the pit lane. He has. Bernie Collins is at race control.
Yeah, I was just going to come in a little bit on strategy, Crofty. A bit of a split feeling out there on how these tyres are lasting. We've heard the Ferraris being told degradation lower than expected, so the tyres lasting better than expected. We've heard others, Verstappen and Norris, being told watch that front right tyre. That is the concern. I think we are pushing more now towards a one-stop strategy. So like you say, Norris, how far can he extend that hard tyre? Can he get all the way to getting something like a soft on at the end? And then the other one to watch out for is still Hadjar. Potentially can go all the way to the end on that tyre. Now in P12, just outside the sort of pit window of Antonelli Verstappen, so anyone ahead that has to pit could come out behind him. So how long can he push that hard tyre? But he needs to make progress past Bortoleto and Colapinto.
Yeah, he got past Gasly, did Isaac Hadjar, and that was enough to send Pierre Gasly into the pits. Carlos Sainz is coming in as well. They're going to have a replace of that front wing. There was a bit of damage to it. While that's happening, Isaac Hadjar thinks, 10th, 11th, that might be nice. I think I'll go for 10th. And he gets past Gabriel Bortoleto into the Leclerc chicane. So Sainz back out then from the pit lane. 2.5 seconds, the gap between Antonelli and Verstappen out in front.
Norris is going to catch Piastri carrying that damage, but that's how it's looking at the moment. But we really do need to keep an eye on Isaac Hadjar for later on in the Grand Prix. He's actually sitting quite nicely there, isn't he? In terms of a victory, but in terms of getting right in the mix of decent points.
Really clever strategy by Red Bull. They got him onto the medium tyre for one lap behind the safety car, and then got him back onto the hard tyre again, and really had little or no penalty because everyone was bunched up behind Bernd Mailander, the safety car driver. Karun, down to you.
Yeah, I was just about to comment on the Carlos Sainz pit stop, Crofty, when you beat me to it, that he was carrying that front wing damage from very early on. We heard the other drivers reporting it. Bizarrely, he didn't seem to be losing that much pace, and they tried to extend it at least so they can get this one stop to work.
Well, let's see what happens to Carlos Sainz from here on in. Back out into this race and down in 19th now.
Norris just took 1.4 out of teammate Piastri. That means within 3 laps, he'll be with him.
He's running in clean air now. This is the thing for Lando Norris. Now he's cleared both of those racing balls. This is the first time in the race, Martin. He's had a bit of clear air. to run into, and he has been the McLaren with the pace this weekend.
He has, but obviously Piastri's missing some bodywork, and that will affect the airflow through the entire car as well, albeit sort of front right corner area. It really does affect, especially how the downforce worked on the underfloor and the rear wing, and it's all controlled all the way along the length of the car. And obviously you've got 4 massive pumps, one on each corner as a wheel, pumping the air everywhere, and those pieces that get flicked off are there to control that flow over and out of the car. And Piastri, you can tell, is beginning to struggle with that.
Yeah, just a touch. This time last year, Oscar Piastri was leading the Belgium Grand Prix ahead of Lando Norris. The minute we got the first green flag of racing after that rain delay, he used his DRS at the time, very handily indeed, to get past his teammate and never looked back. There's the active aero for 2026, not DRS, that's opening up on Lewis Hamilton's Ferrari, and Hamilton with a 5-second penalty, but his teammate Charles Leclerc, who we thought might be in a bit of bother with the stewards, no further action for causing a collision with Oscar Piastri.
And that's why I never want to be a steward.
I think your silence said it all there, Martin, to be honest.
Anyway, as I say, they've got a lot more stuff to look at and different points of view. But for me, that high-speed braking zone stuff and giving racing space is a pretty important area.
I'd quite like to hear Oscar Piastri's reaction when they pass, if they pass that information to him. Charles Leclerc free to race on then as Arvid Lindblad pits, and Charles Leclerc trying to get on terms with Max Verstappen. The gap was about 9/10 of a second at the end of lap 16. Here is Arvid Lindblad, who was running in the top 6, and will come back out onto the racetrack roundabouts where Pierre Gasly is just ahead in 12th place of his teammate Liam Lawson, who's also been into the pits too.
Haven't heard anything, have we, transmitted, but I wonder if they've told Lewis that he's got a 5-second penalty yet.
Your tyres are looking good, Kimi. Better than others, so you can afford to use them.
Up the pace then, young man, should you wish, I think is the suggestion there from Bono. They didn't tell Lewis until he came in for his penalty at Silverstone, did they?
That's right, yeah. Bono's really got to get like a new hammer time, hasn't he? for Kimi Antonelli. Because basically he's like, don't bring me a load of grip back to the pits with discarded tyres. Use the grip, build yourself a bit of a lead, and you're looking good.
Just watching as Pierre Gasly is at the moment, quite the squabble going on between Lindblad and Lawson, getting very close to each other. Good on board there with Gasly. If you want to ride on board, you can do so. We've got them all for you. Sky Sports log in, your Sky Sports app, that's what you need. Now, here comes Max Verstappen into the pits from second. Corinne Chandon's down in the pit lane.
I am, and Crofty, Ferrari came running out as well to try, and maybe it was a bit of a dummy they were trying to play there. Ferrari came running out of the pit lane at the same time as Max Verstappen was in, and they've now gone back. So perhaps there was a bit of strategic call being made to box opposite Max for Charles Leclerc, and he stayed out in free air for an extra lap. But a good stop there for Red Bull.
Yeah, the problem for Ferrari is a big undercut. Brand new set of tyres will gain you a couple of seconds here on the next lap. If Ferrari don't react quite quickly, they'll have Hadjar to pass.
As Hadjar now running in 7th, right behind his teammate.
Yeah. They'll have Isaac Hadjar to get through to get to Max Verstappen. So let's see what Ferrari pit lane do. Obviously, they've got Leclerc in front of Hamilton because they can't touch the car for 5 seconds.
On the VSC,
Hello?
virtual safety car deployed.
What lap are we on?
We are lap 18.
Why the hell? I told you what strategy I wanted to do. Just to put me out with everyone else now.
We are on plan B.
Well, Lewis questioning the strategy, but it might just turn around depending on how long this virtual safety car will last for and what it's for.
That is going to hurt Max Verstappen badly, isn't it? Having looked like it's sort of pulled the pin and beaten Ferrari to that undercut pit stop. Now it's going to get.
I think it's going to be okay. because the VSC is ending.
Yeah.
And no one took advantage of a cheaper pit stop. The marshals were on the track at just past Blanchimont, I think, to clear a bit of debris away. So I think Max, you're right, could have very much hurt him, but it shouldn't.
And breathe for Red Bull. Wow.
Antonelli aggressive into the pit lane there.
Yeah.
And now stopping for his pit stop. So Max Verstappen just coming up to the chicane now. Antonelli, nice swift stop of 2.6 seconds. Leclerc is the new leader of this race from Hamilton, Piastri and Norris, but it's Antonelli getting out ahead of Max Verstappen that Mercedes want to see here. Here comes the Red Bull, down towards the source now, inside line for Antonelli, who used his tyres well in the last couple of laps to fend off the undercut from the Red Bull team.
Yeah. They had to cover off Max, really, flying along as soon as that VSC ended so quickly. So situation returned to normal then, and this is how close Lando Norris is now to his teammate. We were talking about him homing in at rapid rate of knots, so I'm going to assume McLaren, well, Norris is on the harder compound tyres, but they've really got to move Oscar out of the way pretty quickly, haven't they?
Well, they're on a different strategy, so it's easy to explain to Oscar that, look, let your teammate through. He is going longer in this than you are. But that said, you never really want to have your teammate wave through, whether you're carrying damage as Oscar is or not.
Yeah. He's not letting him through there, but so Hamilton then, if he loses 5 seconds, it will put him literally side by side with Lando Norris at the moment, when he does make a pit stop, and behind Piastri. So McLaren then, I think bits of carbon still flicking up here and there. McLaren really need to do something about this quickly.
Here it is, right now, Lando Norris behind Oscar Piastri. He didn't let him through there. I don't think he's got much to defend with there. So whether it was orchestrated or not, Lando Norris is now through and into third place.
That looked a bit lumpy, didn't it?
Yeah. Maybe they just thought, look, Lando's got so much pace, you're going to get past him anyway. Oscar will know not to defend too much and ruin him, maybe his own race. So Leclerc is the leader from this man, Lewis Hamilton. The two Ferraris haven't pitted.
And we are opening the gap to Piastri, and we need to serve a 5-second penalty, that's why.
Another one.
That'll be the moment that they told Lewis Hamilton he's got a 5-second penalty then. I don't think he knew before then. Neither of the McLarens have pitted. Your net race leader is Kimi Antonelli from Max Verstappen. That was the 1 and 2 before they pitted, and Verstappen has just set a new fastest lap of the race and maybe enjoying the hard tyres. That scrap between Limbaugh and Lawson that I mentioned we were seeing when riding on board with Pierre Gasly, that's been noted by the stewards.
Piastri's ahead of Norris now. He's breezed past him up the back straight.
There you go.
Piastri now back in, so we weren't watching any choreography.
No.
It's probably why it looked a bit lumpy. They were blocking. They were fighting for position.
Well, that doesn't make much sense to me, I must admit, but this is going to be interesting. Virtual safety car. Bernie Collins, we didn't see people take advantage last time. Marshall's on the track once again. Will anyone take advantage this time?
Yeah, I think if the safety car is still out, or the virtual safety car is still out by the time Ferrari get to the pit entry, then they should at least do it with Leclerc. This is their best chance to come out ahead of Kimi Antonelli. But I think, in credit to the FIA, they're throwing these virtual safety cars at points where it's not affecting the leaders of the race. So they'll try and clear it, but we've not got a cleared message yet.
So what do you do if you're Ferrari? You shout box, box to Charles Leclerc, because
100%.
Yeah, and you shout box, box to Lewis Hamilton, because the virtual safety car is still out, and Ferrari are coming in. Moët Chandon.
Absolutely. Bright sunshine now in the pit lane. The Ferrari mechanics running straight out in front of me. I see Leclerc pulling up right here. Wheels going on. The other Ferrari's in as well, so they're going to double stack. Yeah, Hamilton is going to have to wait. They have to wait. Don't touch. And I'll tell you what, it feels like an eternity, Crofty, for these mechanics. There they go, you can hear the wheel guns. Piastri has jumped out. And there's a problem there on the front right. One of the mechanics nearly got run over. Wow, that was close for Lewis Hamilton. But the mechanic is standing out, so he's okay. Very, very unfortunate there for Hamilton. He's dropped behind Piastri now as well with that penalty.
Thanks ever so much. The VSC is now ending. Ferrari have had that cheaper pit stop. So Lewis Hamilton, even with the 5-second penalty, has still gained time on his pit stops by about 3.5 seconds. Lando Norris is your race leader. He hasn't pitted yet. Oscar Piastri did come in, that's why he's now down to 5th. Charles Leclerc from Kimi Antonelli. So Antonelli would have expected at the end of all the pit stops that he'd be out in front again as the race leader. He now finds himself currently 3rd on the track and still ahead of Max Verstappen. Hamilton now down in 6th. Isaac Hadjar 7th. He hasn't got to go to the end of this race, but that virtual safety car has counted against him just a little touch. Karun mentioned this. Ooh.
Is he okay?
These are okay, all okay.
Well, Lewis would have had the green light. That's why he went, and luckily, it seems no injury to the mechanic. I do hope he is okay.
Yeah, it looked like the mechanic was just leaning back in to do something, didn't it? But Lewis reacting to the green light, it's all you can do. You can't see anything else sitting in the cockpit. You just focus on that light, and you don't have a little check around before you go.
So there's your race leader, Lando Norris, who might not have expected that when he set off from P13. Trying to finish on the podium from outside the top 10 on the grid for the first time in his Formula One career. The man who finished 2nd here last year at Spa-Francorchamps, ahead of former Belgian Grand Prix winner and winner last time out, Charles Leclerc, ahead of championship leader and the man who probably thought he was on his way to a victory at Silverstone until he had mechanical damage, Kimi Antonelli.
Yeah, so I'm going to assume McLaren thought that a set of mediums on Lando is too far to take them at half distance. Bit surprised that they didn't use the cheap pit stop for Lando there. He's got to take the mediums to the end, but the mediums have got this far from the start of the race, haven't they? So a little bit surprised that they didn't grab that.
Or are they holding out for another safety car, I wonder?
Yeah, another banana skin somewhere and turn wherever. Bernie, what do you reckon about that?
Yeah, well, there was a lot of discussion on Lando Norris's car about how the medium was holding up. They thought it wasn't as robust as the hard tyre. That's what they were telling Lando all along. So I think they've decided that this hard, having been worn down, a bit of cooling behind the safety car, is still going to be very strong. That's what they're thinking for Lando Norris. Just a very quick one on Lewis Hamilton and that pit stop. That mechanic that you see, the sort of blue tube he has, that's for the front wing adjust. And when I look at the onboard, it's like that mechanic was told very late about a front wing adjust. So he goes to step in much later in the pit stop than he normally would, tries to get the wing adjust, doesn't get it done, and then moves out, well, just about moves out of the way of the car. So I think Lewis is not carrying the balance that he would ideally have on this hard tyre. I think there was a call for a balance change on the front wing that did not happen on Lewis's car, so let's see how that affects the performance of this hard tyre.
That could be quite crucial between now and the end of the race in terms of protecting those front tyres. Charles Leclerc is about to take the lead of this race, I think, Martin. It's coming.
Yeah, that's the aerodynamic balance. We almost always actually see them when they go from soft to medium or medium to hard, for example. They'll give a little tweak of front wing up or down to help balance out the lower mechanical grip of those tyres.
This is a quite absorbing Belgian Grand Prix at the moment, being led for this moment by Lando Norris, but Charles Leclerc is coming right at him on the Kemmel straight and is about to take the lead of the race, and does so with ease. Lando knew there was no point fighting that one whatsoever. Second race running then, Charles Leclerc is leading a Grand Prix. Kimi Antonelli is fast catching these two and lapping at about half a second a lap quicker than Leclerc. That's when Leclerc was behind Norris, though.
Unsafe release noted for Ferrari and Lewis Hamilton.
And that in a race tends to be a penalty rather than a fine. Just that's what the Lewis Hamilton fans will be thinking. Oh, okay, does it affect the driver? Does it affect the team?
You can't differentiate between them. You can't. If the driver sticks it in the wall in the final corner, you can't give the victory to the team. And yeah, if the car blows up in the final corner, you can't give the victory to the driver. They are one and the same thing.
Well, we'll keep you posted. It's been noted. Stewards are having a look as to whether they need to investigate any further. Verstappen currently about 0.4 of a second slower than Kimi Antonelli, and just wondering, does he need to save tyres or does he have to push? And look, they are. I have no grip, says Max Verstappen on these hard compound tyres. Piastri runs 5th ahead of Hamilton. Hadjar currently running 7th. He's finished in the top 6 at the last 5 Grand Prix in a row. Last French driver to do that, Alain Prost in 1993.
Drivers, it's a driver expression. I have no grip. The engineers, who are obviously a lot more clever and educated than the drivers, go, well, you must have some grip because you keep going past me quite frequently. But I know what he means. He's not. It won't turn. It won't stop. It spins his wheels through the exit or whatever. Leclerc flying along nicely now, isn't he?
Now he's got some clean air, lapping faster than Kimi Antonelli. So the Ferrari starting to come good on these hard compound tyres. Behind Isaac Hadjar, Gabriel Bortoletto running a very solid 8th place currently in the Audi. That's where he finished at Silverstone last time out. And then Arvid Lindblad and Liam Lawson, no further investigation for their little squabble that we saw running 9th and 10th. Ollie Behrman is dropping back a little bit, and he has actually pitted a couple of times now in this race, but still on the hard tyre.
Good news for Oscar Piastri with a change of tyres. I suspect he hurt his tyres with the aero problems he was having from that damage more quickly than others, but he's back on the pace at the moment.
Did you put front wing in or not?
We didn't manage.
Yeah. I can't turn the cars.
And that is answering Bernie Collins' query there as to how it might affect Lewis Hamilton to the end of the race. You need these front wing adjustments when you're going from one compound to another.
Absolutely.
It's a massive difference. That is Lando Norris. Behind him is Kimi Antonelli. Roles reversed for 4th and 5th at the moment because Oscar Piastri is catching Max Verstappen. Lando, though, is having to defend here.
So the unsafe release will be investigated after the race for Lewis Hamilton. So we'll see how that one pans out somewhat later today. Lando's about a second a lap off the pace at the moment with his more heavily used tyres. He's done 24 laps on those now. Of course, he's on his 25th. So, yeah, he'll need a lot of pace later on, won't he, when he puts the fresh ones on. Here we go.
And just holds off.
Yeah, and I think he left the requisite amount of space there, Lando. So making that McLaren as wide as he can. He wants to get as far into this race as he can. But now he's starting to lose heavy time. I knew Lewis Hamilton in clear air with mid 1 minute 50s as well, like Lando Norris, struggling with understeer on that Ferrari, and that rather confirms that the mechanic who nearly got run over was diving in for a belated front wing change.
And I've just had a little look at the penalty guidelines, Martin, for an unsafe release from a pit stop in a race. 5 or a 10-second penalty or a drive-through. Doesn't mention fines. That comes in qualifying or in practice sessions. It'll be a driver penalty if they feel it is an unsafe release, and given that the car made contact with the mechanic.
Quite hard to defend that one, isn't it?
If Lewis had a green light, the team shouldn't have released it, put the green light on. That's the key. There goes Kimi Antonelli to the bus stop chicane, trying to get past Lando Norris. All the while this is happening, Charles Leclerc's building just a little bit more of a gap out in front. Last lap, he was 0.8 of a second quicker than Kimi Antonelli.
Antonelli's losing that 0.8 of a second now, and look out for, while he's trying to get past the very wide McLaren of Lando Norris, and Max Verstappen starting to cruise up behind him again, and Oscar Piastri still in the 1 minute 49s too.
Yeah, they're lapping very similar lap times. Antonelli needs an overtake. The McLaren's harvesting. Norris is breezed past on that Kemmel straight. The gap 3 seconds then between your race leader Charles Leclerc and Kimi Antonelli. At some stage, McLaren are going to have to pit Lando Norris. They'll be hoping, I would imagine, to not lose too much time, and then I think put the soft compound tyre on for the end, when, as you rightly say, Martin, he will be pretty rapid.
You reckon they'll go for a set of used softs at the end?
Why not?
Or a brand new set of mediums.
Give it a few qualifying laps. I suppose it depends as well. If we get a safety car, he'll be in right away. Hulkenberg under pressure from Gasly under pressure from Hulkenberg, who now gets to alongside the front wing, but Gasly's a bit later on the brakes, and that keeps Hulkenberg down in 12th place. Bernie Collins, to you at race control.
Yeah, just a quick one. Pick up on that conversation you're having there about Lando Norris. Is this the point that they are regretting that decision to run that second new soft in Q3 yesterday? Would they feel in a much more favourable position if the question was new or used soft at this stage with that new one in their pocket from Q3?
Yeah, that's a very fair point. You have to commit early. They wouldn't have foreseen some of the circumstances that's got Lando up into the top 3 or even leading the race, but always better to have something up your sleeve.
Especially as he went off the track using those brand new tyres, didn't he, on his second run?
Box for Lance Stroll come into the pits. They've got a clutch problem. I would imagine he might be the third retiree from this race. George Russell on lap 1 after contact with Hamilton, who picked up a 5-second penalty. Sergio Perez with a suspension issue, he thought, and Lance Stroll with a clutch problem could be the latest to retire.
I suspect they've been able to change the front wing level on Piastri's car as well. He's flying along now with a fresh set of tyres, cruising up to the back of Max Verstappen.
The cars either come alive or sink a little bit when you change the compound. Hamilton's got that sinking feeling, lapping in the 150s at the moment. Isaac Hadjar behind him, lapping in the 149s, and those ahead lapping quicker than Hamilton too. Verstappen's not enjoying these tyres at all. He has got another set of hard compound tyres. He's got another set of medium that are brand new as well, should he choose to use them. I'm sure he won't want to come in to the pits. If he did, it would relegate him down round about to 7th place, but it would leave him pretty racy for the end of the race. See what happens.
Top 5 covered by 7 seconds at the moment, and then they are very much dropping Lewis Hamilton now in this phase of the Grand Prix. 14.4 seconds off the lead. He's not that far away from being a pit stop behind. He really needs to somehow get into the 149s, but if his car's understeering, sliding across the track at the front end, that just hurts the tyres ever more.
Certainly does. Right, let's see what can happen again as we head into the straight line mode of the start-finish straight, and then along the Kemmel straights. Norris, Verstappen, Piastri separated by 2.2 seconds as they cross the line. Now what Piastri is looking for is a really good exit out of the source and pick up a slipstream here behind not 1 but 2 cars. Not overdo it too much on the electrical deployment, the battery deployment, and use the slipstream to gain himself an advantage and to get closer to Verstappen. Verstappen had a slipstream yesterday behind his teammate Isaac Hadjar in qualifying. It was worth 17 kilometres an hour on that back stretch. He's used that slipstream and maybe a bit of battery deployment to good use here, because he's got a lot closer to Lando Norris as we start to drop down the hill now through Rouge.
If it's a one-stopper for the front runners, Lando's got a lot of overtaking to do in the final stages to get back up there.
Certainly has. Kimi Antonelli's got a bit of overtaking to try and get a bit closer to get ahead of Charles Leclerc, and he's picked up 3/10 on Leclerc on this lap so far. Middle part of the lap, the Red Bull has been strong. That's why Norris can now see Max Verstappen very large in his wing mirrors. As Colapinto gets ahead of Hulkenberg in the scrap for 12th place. And as you rightly said, Martin, that gravel, that will get off the racing line eventually. It gets kind of hoovered away by the cars.
Yeah, it's not sharp. I mean, it's very specification, the gravel. It's not, and it's not sharp enough to puncture tyres, thankfully. What it does do is hits the driver's fingers sometimes on the steering wheel. Or indeed switch Nico Hulkenberg's Audi off completely, didn't it?
Yeah, hit the kill switch on the side of the car when Liam Lawson just flicked up a bit of gravel in Barcelona. Kimi Antonelli lost a couple of tenths to Charles Leclerc in the middle sector on this lap. It was while he was trying to lap Fernando Alonso, and he's now managed to clear him. Verstappen a lot closer to Lando Norris on lap 29 than he was coming out of the source on lap 28 as we barrel down through Eau Rouge and make that 40-metre climb up to the top of the hill at Raidillon. Lot of Max Verstappen fans on those banks alongside the Kemmel Straight. They'll be cheering him on, they'll be willing him on. He's trying to respond, gets into the chicane, has responded, goes a little bit deep, maybe goes too deep. Lando Norris can try and fight this back. Verstappen closes the door on him and hangs on to third place.
Yeah, that was Max. However late you brake, Lando, I'm braking later, and I'll sort it out when I get there.
If he'd have broke any later, he might have ended up in the campsite, but for now, it's worked out okay.
Well, we've got a role reversal now, haven't we? Because Piastri really needs to be let through past Norris, still on his initial tyres. Kind of still a bit surprised Norris is out there, if I'm honest, on these, as we head in lap 29 to, towards the closing stages, it must be said.
I think Lando Norris might need to pit soon. Trouble is now he pits and he comes out behind Isaac Hadjar.
That's what I was saying. He's got a lot of overtaking to do. He's going to get back anywhere near the podium when he fits those fresh tyres.
On board with Oscar Piastri briefly in 5th place. So let's see if McLaren do orchestrate that. There were no team orders before when Norris came up behind his teammate before Piastri pitted. That's a big lock up there, right behind Verstappen Norris. Oscar Piastri doesn't do his tyres any good whatsoever by having a lock up into the chicane.
Both McLarens in the 151s on that lap. A difficult lap for them. Antonelli still edging a third of a second a lap towards Charles Leclerc. What we haven't had on the radio is anything from Antonelli.
And Lando, I don't want any yo-yo racing with Oscar. I'll explain why later.
So don't you go pressing your boost button to get past your teammate, so he presses his boost button to get past you, because it's not going to do either of you any good, I think is the message there.
You just slow each other down if you keep doing that, as we saw on the previous lap a little bit, although there are other factors to that as well. So it doesn't sound like they're planning to bring Norris in anytime soon, does it?
No, it certainly doesn't.
Based on that radio message.
And you were saying we haven't heard anything from Kimi Antonelli.
I was starting to say that, yeah. You know what? Because I think last year or early on the season, maybe Kimi would have been on the blow alert, because he's dominated really this race this weekend in many respects. And here he is, P2, but I haven't heard any histrionics. He's just got his head down.
That was almost a brilliant move at Raidillon from Liam Lawson to get past Pierre Gasly. And oh look, Franco Colapinto's arrived on the scene and he's absolutely mugged both of them into the chicane. Colapinto goes into 10th. Lawson does move ahead of Gasly. Shades of Häkkinen, Schumacher and Zonta from all those years ago along the Kemmel Straight, 3 cars, and in the end it was Colapinto who got the result.
I was just about to say, Lando through the Fania chicane had the tail end hanging out like a drift car basically. Those tyres have had it.
And that's why he is now coming in. Lap 31. The hard tyres that he's had on from the start of this race now giving up the ghost, and it's time for a pit stop. They need a quick one from the crew, and they don't get a quick one from the crew. Left-hand rear that didn't want to come off, and it doesn't want to go back on too much either. Now, we said that he was going to come out behind Isaac Hadjar, but is Lando Norris now going to come out behind Gabriel Bortoleto as well? Here comes the Audi down towards La Source. Norris has got that inside line, but he's lost out to Hadjar, and he's lost out to Bortoleto as well, and that pit stop needed to be quicker, and that troublesome left rear put paid to any chance of that.
Yeah, didn't want to come off, did it? And then I didn't want to go on. So that increases the overtaking workload Lando Norris now has, and he wants a big haul of points today.
Medium tyres then for Lando Norris to the end of this race.
Yeah, it was the only decision really, wasn't it? I don't think there's any point in risking a new set of soft tyres. I just don't know why they weren't on slightly earlier, but Charles Leclerc...
This first to second gear is so bad. Out of one, it's so bad. So hard.
Clunky old gear shift he's talking about there.
1.5 seconds as well, the gap between himself and Kimi Antonelli. The gap has come down by half from the moment that Antonelli got past Norris about 7 laps ago. Bernie Collins, to you.
Yeah, Kimi Antonelli really pushing on, like you say, Crofty, but looking a little bit further down the field. Hadjar's pace is still really strong on that hard tyre that he's been on for so long. I was just going to check. I think something flashed up my data that said something different there. But Hadjar doing really well. And then the only other thing to point out is Lewis Hamilton. Hadjar's been pushed on because Hamilton, they're saying, might have a penalty. So he's been asked to try and close that gap to Lewis Hamilton. And then the final thing is Martin had said about Antonelli not being on the radio too much. Well, he has been on, we've just not heard it. He was told that he's losing to Leclerc through turns 10, 12 and 13, 2 tenths, and he replied saying, I can't push any more there. I've just nearly crashed. I'm not pushing more through that section.
Really interesting. You'd have thought Kimi Antonelli, based on what we'd seen so far this weekend, would have had all the pace in the world to have caught Charles Leclerc by now and passed him. It is not proving that way. Backmarker was Fernando Alonso. That helped out, I think, Gabriel Bortoleto for that moment, but he's not going to be helped out for much longer. And Lando Norris has got this pass done by the time they get to 1/7 up the Kemmel Straight. Now he's trying to break the toe. Don't want to weave too much, especially when you get into the braking zone. Looked about okay.
I half expected Lando to lunge Gabriel Bortoleto into the first corner, but he decided to bide his time up the back straight. So next up then for Norris is Hadjar, who is about 7 seconds clear, more than that, 10 seconds clear.
Yeah, but he has got pace, Isaac Hadjar. Despite these tyres been on for 11 laps now, he did pit again, didn't he, behind the virtual safety car. Lando Norris just pitting to go onto the mediums now. Hadjar's pace is very respectable indeed, and he will be driving not just to preserve his top 6 status, but also I think maybe to help his teammate out a little bit, Max Verstappen, who's struggling with tyres and not hugely that much further up the road.
Antonelli's into the overtake mode now. He's he was getting very close to it. Yes, he's now in that, so he will get extra battery charging and keeps his top speed for longer now that he's within a second of his rival.
Won this race here at Spa in 2019. Charles Leclerc went on to win in Monza. He wins in Spa, he wins in Monza. Just a couple of weeks later, the only previous time he has won consecutive races. His first 2 career wins, well, he won at Silverstone, and he's going for a consecutive race win here this weekend. But now the task is starting to get that much tougher. Ferrari thought that the second or a third was definitely on today for Charles Leclerc, but probably didn't expect him to be leading this race. And if you go back through the history of the Belgian Grand Prix at Spa-Martin, P4, where Charles Leclerc started this race, has never, ever won at Spa. He's trying to do it all today.
Yeah, a little warning there. Don't. It's the trap. Do not put yourself on the outside of, we call it, Leclerc chicane, turn 5, they call it. Oh, that's a nasty bit of traffic for Charles Leclerc.
Oh, Valtteri Bottas in the Cadillac. Just in the wrong place at the wrong time as far as Charles Leclerc was concerned, and Kimi Antonelli can just breeze past him because he gets to the Cadillac by the time they're foot flat to the floor through Blanchimont.
It's a good performance from Ferrari. Yes, they had the rubber, the green with the pit stop under the virtual safety car, but that saves you 10 seconds. He's still right in there.
Yes, he is at the moment, but the gap now 0.6 of a second and decreasing all the time. You can see a bit further down the straight, back to Max Verstappen, running in third, holding off Oscar Piastri for the time being. Piastri with a bit of damage to his car after contact with Charles Leclerc. No penalty for Leclerc. Hamilton with damage to his car after contact with George Russell earlier on in the race, for which he picked up a 5-second penalty. The Ferrari's vulnerable along that Kemmel Straight. Kimi Antonelli retakes the lead of the Belgian Grand Prix. He was warned that Leclerc will try and squeeze him potentially into the chicane. He managed to get the overtake done before the chicane was a factor. Antonelli leads then, and 11 laps to go.
Lando Norris, new personal best out there, 149.4 compared to the leaders, late 149s, early 150. So Norris then 9.9 seconds to get, as you can see on the screen, up to Hadjar. We don't know if I think Lewis will take another penalty after the race, won't he, for that unsafe release, sadly. So Norris, best chance he's got is P5 at the moment. Piastri, if he can just find an ounce more pace, it's not out of the question that Piastri could be on the podium as well.
Hasn't been on the podium, Oscar Piastri, since Miami when he finished third. Was also on the podium in Japan, runner-up at Suzuka this year. Be a welcome return to the podium for him. Leclerc, Antonelli and Piastri, I think, would be yet another unique, different podium this season. I think we'd have 10 podiums, and it would be 10 different podiums each time. I'm doing that off memory without actually writing that down, but I think I would be correct in that one.
So Leclerc's managed to stay within the 1 second zone, the overtake mode zone of Antonelli. Is this going to give him a chance to come back at him? Now it's now or never for Charles Leclerc. It's a tall order, isn't it? Charles Leclerc's car has been rubbing the ground very hard through Eau Rouge and Raidillon. Hopefully his plank wear is well within legality come the end of the race, because the Ferrari's been looking quite low through there, and quite fast, it must be said.
Antonelli, Piastri and Leclerc were on the podium together in Japan. I've just looked it up while you were talking there, Martin. Thanks for giving me the opportunity to check the races this season. We're on round 10. Japan, of course, was round 3. Seems like only a couple of minutes ago. The season going past us very fast indeed. And for Kimi Antonelli, what a season it is so far. Even with the 2 failures to score points in the last 3 Grand Prix, he is still the championship leader, and went into this race knowing that he was still going to be the championship leader coming out of it, and he's going to be extending his championship lead at the checkered flag.
Charles Leclerc hasn't given up yet at all.
As his fan is absolutely delighted about. Yeah, any thoughts that Antonelli could sail off into the distance? Not happening. So that just shows you, when you start to use your battery in places that you wouldn't normally, then you're going to have to get a bit of payback at the end of the lap.
Well, it's like a double-edged sword, isn't it? Antonelli had the overtake mode. It's not something we can see, but we know about it. You can collect another half megajoule of battery power, and you keep your higher top speed for longer. And of course, now suddenly it's Leclerc who's got that service, as it were. And that is why you saw the breeze pass. Now suddenly he's back under pressure.
Seems to get a better exit, I think, out of La Source there, Antonelli, than Leclerc did on this lap. Behind these two, there's a gap of about 7.5 seconds to Max Verstappen, who had a better lap last time out than Oscar Piastri, but not of Lewis Hamilton. And certainly nowhere near as fast as Lando Norris as Leclerc closes up on the leader, Kimi Antonelli. Lando Norris just took 1.3 seconds out of Isaac Hadjar's advantage in that scrap for 6th place.
Yeah, and he needs to, though. It looks like Norris will be with Hadjar on the penultimate lap.
Assuming, Martin, his tyres hold up.
Yeah, I was just going to say that, as long as Hadjar's tyres don't start falling apart towards the end of the race. That will, how many laps will he have done on those? He's 15 into those at the moment. Isaac Hadjar, he's fine. He's fine.
He's had a very good race, starting from the back of the grid, taking that power unit penalty, and on course for a 6th consecutive top 6 finish, unless Lando Norris can do something about it. Back markers, don't get so many of them here. Only Bottas and Alonso have been lapped, so they shouldn't really be a factor between now and the checkered flag.
Happy days for Italy in Formula 1 at the moment, isn't it? Italian teenager leading the race, leading the World Championship. Ferrari back on form, and Charles Leclerc very much back on form. Monegasque, of course, not Italian, but he is in the Italian car.
He was asked, wasn't he, Kimi Antonelli, at the press conference on Thursday, are you the most famous Formula 1, or who's the most famous Formula 1 driver in Italy at the moment? And he thought about it and said, yeah, Charles. Team still wins over driver. On that one, according to Kimi Antonelli. He took pole on his dad's birthday yesterday, his 6th pole of the season, and trying to convert that into a 6th win of the season too. And a win that would double the margin between himself and his teammate George Russell in the championship to 50 points.
It's getting ever closer. So the thing to watch is that gap at the top left of your screen between Antonelli and Leclerc. the reference point, the measurement point for the overtake mode is to very near the end of the lap, just into that chicane. And if you're within a second going in there, you'll get the overtake mode for the whole of the following lap. And Antonelli cannot break clear of that. No. It's sort of hovering around, isn't it? 0.7, 0.8, down to 0.4 at the end of the straights, where the Ferrari's got allowed to have more top speed. But Bernie's got news.
Yeah, I was just going to come in quickly. Hadjar's been told that they are expecting Norris to be on him with 2 laps to go. So they're getting Hadjar ready for the defence, but Norris looking very quick at the moment. So how closely can he close that gap?
Another 9/10 on the last lap for Lando Norris to close down that gap. There's confirmation on your screen of what Bernie was saying there. Keep your head down, Isaac. Your pace is very good.
So there's a new squabble building up, and that's Lewis Hamilton catching Oscar Piastri. Hamilton still carrying that investigation, of course, to remind you. But Lewis has found a little bit more pace in the closing stages.
Meanwhile, out in front, Charles Leclerc using that overtake mode. It's probably worth about 2 to 3 tenths of a second a lap here. It's a very good effect.
Over the line 2 laps ago it was 0.7, then it was 0.8, now it's 0.9. It doesn't matter that it's a second at the moment because he'll gain on him at the top of the hill, but Antonelli is getting very close now to breaking that.
Then he might be able to breathe just a little bit more easily, as Lewis Hamilton gets to around about that second mark in his fight with Oscar Piastri. Along the Kemmel Straight, Charles Leclerc still keeping Kimi Antonelli in touch. Arvid Lindblad and Gabriel Bortoleto, meanwhile, are scrapping away and swapping places as they head down the start-finish straight. Bortoleto hangs on to that 8th place ahead of the young rookie for the Racing Bulls.
And Hamilton now, you can see in the picture-in-picture there, top left, he is now within overtake mode of Oscar Piastri too. Piastri carrying that damage. We know Lewis hasn't got the front wing setting he wanted or expected, but so they look like they're going to meet somewhere in the middle, Piastri and Hamilton.
He's having to drive around a suboptimal front wing level, shall we call it in Formula One parlance. Lap 38 of 44. Now, this time around, Charles Leclerc might just get that sinking feeling that he's outside that magic 1 second margin. The Mercedes has been better on the straights than the Ferrari. It hasn't got much to try and get back under that 1 second unless he leaves the braking really, really late, and he hasn't done that. So as they go through that detection point, this is the bit where Kimi Antonelli might just say, phew, thank heavens for that. I'm now more than a second in front of Charles Leclerc, as Leclerc loses 2 to 3 tenths a lap from that half a megajoule of energy in his pursuit. Talking of pursuits, here's the one you were talking about, Martin. Oscar Piastri's the car in front. Lewis Hamilton is the man in 5th place, and 5 tenths, half a second between them as they cross the line.
Yes, given Verstappen some breathing space up there in 3rd, hasn't it? As Norris does another new fastest lap of the race, taking a further second out of Isaac Hadjar. What's Lewis Hamilton got on the long climb to Le Combe?
Piastri just a little, weave to break the toe if he can, but not sure he's got much to try and defend with here. Luckily for him, the chicane came up in the nick of time. Another 100 metres, Hamilton might just have been alongside him. Piastri under all sorts of pressure here from Lewis Hamilton, and looking in his mirrors to see where that Ferrari is. The battle for 4th place. Piastri might have thought at one stage, I could be on for a podium here, but Verstappen, as you rightly say, Martin, is dancing off into the distance somewhat. Engine braking +1, it's not over. The message from the Ferrari pit wall and Brian Bozzi, his race engineer. Come on, Charles, we could still do this.
I'm going to assume that means more recharge. The car might be a little bit harder to drive, but let's not give up just yet.
I'm sure he hasn't. He's trying to see where Kimi Antonelli is, and that Mercedes car is getting an ever smaller speck in the distance. There's the battle prediction there in our insights powered by AWS. Isaac Hadjar currently in 6th, and Lando Norris on him in 4 laps. Bernie Collins said with a couple of laps to go, it could get very spicy, and that's the way it's certainly looking. Here comes Hamilton on Piastri. For one moment, I guess he thought about a move into the bus stop chicane. didn't come his way. So the run to La Source now. There's Verstappen making his way round the corner. And Hamilton just, I think, biding his time. No point trying to get someone into La Source, because then they'll get the slipstream all the way along that Kemmel Straight and maybe an advantage from it. So on board now, dropping down about 186 miles an hour as they hit this point. And Rouge, and then up towards Raidillon, and with the car charging its battery, the speed decreases a little bit for both cars, but who's deploying more, who's charging more on this straight? Charging towards Oscar Piastri is Lewis Hamilton. Charging up into fourth is Lewis Hamilton. He's got his man second time around.
Yeah, he needs, if he can, he now needs to get that gap to 5 or more seconds, does Lewis Hamilton, if he wants to keep that place in case he gets a penalty. If they decide on a 10-second penalty for the unsafe release, let's see. We've had some, we've had all sorts of decisions today, haven't we? But needless to say, Lewis can now, with some clear air, if he can break the overtake mode on Piastri, get on with it.
Remember track limits.
He has...
How many do we have?
2. You have 2 already, so we don't want any more.
One more gets you a warning, and another one after that gets you a penalty. 5-second penalty for it as well. Bernie Collins, to you.
Yeah, I was just going to pick up on that there for Antonelli. They give him that warning. I think the problem has come because Antonelli's losing time to Charles Leclerc through the high-speed section of the track. And that's where they've been trying to push him a little bit to get more out of the car, and that's where the track limit violations are coming. So everywhere from turn 9 down to 15, and they have been, like you say, warning him. So still hope for Charles Leclerc. He needs to be putting that pressure on through that middle sector, sector 2 of the track, and see if he can force some more mistakes from Kimi Antonelli.
Cracking drive from Charles Leclerc, isn't it? Antonelli too, of course, out front, but a really fighting drive there from the man who won at Silverstone.
Ron Dennis used to say second, first of the losers.
Hamilton is under investigation post-race for unsafe release. We need to stay within 5 seconds. Hamilton under investigation post-race.
Yeah, you could still get that fourth back again. Yeah, second is first of the losers. I don't see anything loserish, if that is indeed a word, about Charles Leclerc's performance here today in the Ferrari up against the Mercedes. And Ferrari said that they weren't really expecting a huge amount from, I think, Budapest. They'll fancy their chances there, but they weren't expecting to be on terms with Mercedes this weekend. Antonelli seems pretty calm in that cockpit and calm out in front, asking the sensible questions when Bono talks about track limits. It's interesting, he had a great chat that he said with Roger Federer at Wimbledon, and when they were having a moment in the royal box, and I did ask him what did Roger, advice did he give you, and he said, well, control the things you can control, and control the emotions that lead to mistakes, which I think is great advice for a young sports star at the beginning of their careers.
Yeah, I have that's ingrained in my mind, second is the first loser, because I finished second for Ron Dennis at Monaco to Michael Schumacher, and he did indeed deliver me that line. Yes.
Never a loser with us, ever. Second at Monaco, that's still a great achievement, isn't it? It's not bad at all. Pierre Gasly, right on the tail of his teammate Franco Colapinto. He finished 10th at Silverstone to Gasly, got him 500 career points. I dare say you'd quite like to get back on terms and beat Franco Colapinto today, given the move that Colapinto pulled off, and it looked like a pretty decent move as well at the end of this straight to get ahead of his teammates. There's an Aston Martin in between the race leader Kimi Antonelli and Charles Leclerc now. The gap has just drifted out to about 2 seconds, which is about as comfortable, I think, as Kimi Antonelli has had in terms of a race lead so far. And that 2 seconds is replicated in the battle for 6th now.
Yeah, so Norris just did fastest lap of the race again, but Hadjar just did a really good personal best, so just half second slower than Norris's new race fastest lap. So he's not going to give up that too easily, and it really is going to be penultimate lap, isn't it, when they start fighting. But Norris will soon get into that overtaking zone that we've been talking about.
Yeah, and gain that 2 or 3 tenths of a second to use for his advantage. We're on board with Liam Lawson, and he's getting a bird's eye view at the moment of the Alpine scrap for 10th place. I'm thinking, right, you just fight away, guys. Cost yourself a bit of time, and I'll be there to pick up the pieces should they come my way. This has been a very, very interesting race today, and not the race I expected it to be. I thought we'd be talking a lot about Kimi Antonelli because and not seeing too much of him because he'd be so far out in front. The scraps will be mostly carrying on behind him.
That's how it looked, isn't it? But of course we had quite a few adventures in the middle there, didn't we? And safety car, virtual safety car, and so on. So Constantine had everything up, put people out of position, gave others a chance of a very cheap pit stop, as we like to call it. But yeah, it's been solid. And now we're gonna watch as Norris 1.6 behind now, as you can see. That's going to get pretty feisty. It looks now, actually, doesn't it, like it's the final lap when Norris gets there, because Hadjar's definitely, he did a 49.4, now he's done a 1 minute 49.6. So Hadjar's really driving out of his skin to make it harder than ever for Lando Norris.
Yeah, they'll ask, I'm sure, Lando Norris will ask, why didn't you pit me behind the virtual safety car? Don't forget as well, he had a very slow, or a slower pit stop, and without that he might be alongside Hadjar already.
Tell you what, Antonelli was right on the edge, wasn't he? Coming out of, you were looking at some stuff down there, Crofty. Antonelli was really pushing like crazy coming down the hill there. And he needs to be careful of track limits. No sign of any problem at the moment for him, but he knows he's still got a fight on his hands.
He certainly has. The gap 2.2 seconds. He doesn't want to be going onto the curbs, losing a bit of time either. You know, you can easily have an incident that costs you a second and a half here, and then suddenly your opponent is right on your rear wing. But we end lap 43 and we begin lap 44 with our race leader, Kimi Antonelli. Just another 4.3 miles, and he gets his first victory at Spa-Francorchamps as a Formula One driver under his belt. Lando Norris would dearly love to get another 1/10 of a second on Isaac Hadjar. Here it comes into that detection zone, and has he got within that 1 second margin through that detection zone to try and get overtake on the last lap to help him get past Isaac Hadjar? I'm not sure he did, to be honest.
Not according to that graphic. So Hadjar's done a really good job to at least keep himself very much in play on the final tour.
As the Ferris wheel spins slowly around, there's a few faster revolutions going on the track as they head towards Rivage. Our race leader Kimi Antonelli and Charles Leclerc behind him. This has been a very fine day for the young Italian. For his teammate George Russell, it is the double disappointment of a first lap exit and then seeing his teammate and championship rival go on to win the race. That gap that was 25 points at the start of this race will grow to 50 points between Russell and Antonelli. Antonelli's had his bad luck in 2 of the last 3 races. The bad luck has returned with George Russell here today. And he didn't score in Barcelona when his car had that malfunction, what looked like a battery issue. He didn't score with that front wheel shield that was causing quite the disturbance at Silverstone, but he has returned to the track and he's going to score here today. Kimi Antonelli, championship leader, 6 poles in 2026, make that 6 Grand Prix to go with it. 6 of the best as Antonelli wins the Belgian Grand Prix. Charles Leclerc comes home for a fine, impressive and super second place, and Max Verstappen will add to his podium tally to hold on to 3rd place for Red Bull. Behind him, Lewis Hamilton with the threat of a penalty maybe to come for an unsafe release. Oscar Piastri within 5 seconds finishes 5th. Isaac Hadjar, super drive from him from the back of the grid to finish 6th and hold off Lando Norris, who briefly led this race and went on the charge to try and make amends after his pit stop, but couldn't quite get on terms with Hadjar.
Nice work, Kimi. Well done there, mate.
Let's go.
Good effort, mate.
Let's go. Thank you so much, guys.
Yeah, well done,
Thank
mate.
you.
Yeah, it was a busy race, that one, but well done. Kept a cool head.
He did indeed keep a cool head. As we said earlier on, no histrionics, and a well-deserved victor of this Grand Prix. the teenager who has just got it all together. And even the races where he's been struggling in terms of reliability, he still kept his head together. And I mean, imagine if his car had been bulletproof, just how many points he would have now, as an indication of just how well he's driving.
Absolutely. Behind Lando Norris, Gabriel Bortoletto came home to finish 8th for the second race in a row. Arvid Lindblad picked up points once again, and that's what, 5 consecutive points finishes for him in the Racing Bulls. And Franco Colapinto took the final point by less than a second from his teammate Pierre Gasly. And for the first time in 5 Belgian Grand Prix, the pole sitter climbs from his car as the race winner. Kimi Antonelli, a first winner from pole here since 2021. And he ties with that 6th career victory Riccardo Patrese for the 2nd most wins by an Italian driver in the Formula One World Championship. Next up the list with 13, Alberto Ascari.
Wow, that's quite something, isn't it?
And he runs, he sprints, and he jumps into the arms of his mechanics. What a weekend. And his dad's there as well. What a birthday celebration for Papa Antonelli. Son's on pole, and then a day later he takes the race win.
He nearly cleared his entire crew there. They've got so much energy. I kind of wish he was in the back of the garage gasping, you know, with an IV drip, because he's had such an exhausting afternoon. But they're so unbelievably fit and strong, the drivers now, proper athletes. And it's not the most taxing circuit because there's so many long straights.
It could have had a bit of rain to throw into the mix as well. It didn't. We had a couple of virtual safety cars and a full safety car too. It's the most famous Formula One driver, according to Kimi Antonelli, comes over to give our race winner a hug. And I think Red Bull and Max Verstappen will be satisfied with the 3rd place there.
Yeah, absolutely.
Today.
Absolutely.
Might still see the standings change a little bit. Just to remind you, Lewis Hamilton, for an unsafe release, he and Ferrari being investigated after this race, and our indication is that if they are found guilty, could result in a 5 or a 10-second penalty for Lewis Hamilton. And the mechanic okay, which is absolutely brilliant. What didn't happen is the front wing didn't get adjusted, and that's certainly slowed down Lewis's pace towards the end of the race as well, or his 2nd stint.
So they come in straight in the back of the pit here. It's such a long lap. It would add another 3-4 minutes before they end up going into the cool-down room and up onto the podium. So it's a shame for the fans because they don't get to see the winner come past them in jubilation. But it would be such a long time before they ever got round to doing the podium otherwise.
Well, that's very true. It's quite a long trudge up the hill as well from Parc Fermé, as Lewis Hamilton was just displaying. Yeah, the virtual safety car timed right for Ferrari and for Charles Leclerc and for Lewis Hamilton. Do you know what? The pace of the Ferrari wasn't quite the deficit that they were expecting.
No, not at all. They're right in there. Look, yes, they got the rub of the green on the pit stop, didn't they? With the safety car, virtual safety car for Leclerc. I think otherwise, him and Verstappen would have been having a right old battle, actually, over 2nd.
So Lewis Hamilton moves into 2nd place for now in the championship, ahead of George Russell. And he's not down, sadly for him, in the top 3. He's actually being weighed at the moment. Jacques Villeneuve has the
Kimi Antonelli, amazing win. I mean, you had pace all weekend, very strong. You were very cool with the battle with Max on the first lap. Then virtual safety car, you had to fight back to the lead. Leclerc super fast, stayed in your mirrors. You didn't crack. How does it feel to get back to the winning circle after the tough races?
Yeah, no, it's great to be back on the top step after obviously
few difficult rounds, and yeah, it was a hard-fought race. You know, we lost obviously the first place with a virtual safety car, but then we managed to make our way back, and yeah, it was a tough win because Charles was quick, and we had to hold on to that.
Oh, congratulations.
Thank you.
Charles, aggressive race today. We saw you very aggressive in the race. You come from a win in Silverstone. Once again, I mean, you were giving him a hard time. You kept up with him. You have this car under control now. Can you fight for the rest of the season?
Well, I believed in the win until the end. We had a little bit of luck, obviously, with the VSC at the right time for us, but the pace was relatively strong. There's been some 5-6 laps on the hard where I've been struggling with the front axle, and then it came back a little bit. I felt better with the car. There's still some work to do, but surely it's a step forward.
Well, congratulations.
Thank you.
Max, you tried everything this weekend. The toe in qualifying, you really were wanting it. Interesting strategy at the start. You know, you made everyone believe, okay, maybe he can get the lead, but then was it a question of surviving? Are you happy with your result?
Yeah, I mean, I think so. I tried everything I could in the race. I mean, the first stint wasn't too bad. Second stint probably a little bit more difficult, but at the same time also I think Kimi and I, we got a little bit unlucky with the VSC as well. So I think for us to be on the podium is very good. I mean, I gave it everything I had, and I think actually P3 is good.
Well, good points to bring home.
Yep.
And Kimi, the last few races, I mean, you had a lot of lead in the points. It's been dropping through a little bit of bad luck, and now you've built a big gap again. Do you think you're back in the roll? You got the momentum going again?
Yeah, no, I think the momentum was always there. Was just about you know, getting the result, and you know, today we were a bit lucky with what happened in terms of championship, but that's why, you know, you gotta try to take every opportunity, because we saw that it can really swing very easily, the situation. So yeah, we just gotta keep performing, keep bringing the result, and then we'll see what happens at the end of the year.
Well, carry on.
Thank you so much. Thank you to everyone. Thank you.
Well, we're only at round 10. There's still a long way to go, but with every minus comes a couple of pluses, you feel, with Kimi Antonelli at the moment. And you know, for Mercedes and George Russell, even before this race today, they need to sit down and work out the deficit between him and his teammate. Ferrari need to find a bit more power on the power-sensitive circuits, such as Spa-Francorchamps. Red Bull, I think, need to be a bit more up there on the power tracks as well, even though they deem to have the best engine, and McLaren can't have an upgrade soon enough either.
You must imagine with George, with no power up the hill, getting mugged by the three cars, that there's either something that happened on the car that's easily identifiable, or something he did with the throttle, the brake, the gear shift, or whatever, that generated that. There must be something jumping out of the data to go, this is what happened.
They'll look at that, but there won't be much time for a debrief. We're off to Budapest and arrive there on Thursday for the Hungarian Grand Prix, the last race before the summer shutdown. And it's a summer shutdown where Kimi Antonelli, whatever deck chair he finds, will return from, still the championship leader.
It's a little bit of a trademark building there with Kimi. He likes to spin the rear wheels up coming out of the last corner over the finish line.
Well, he's done it 6 times now, exited the final corner and come out on top. Got to have a bit of a trademark, haven't you, to celebrate your wins and sign "Happy Birthday, Dad" for his dad on the champagne bottle at the end of it. Everyone gathering under the podium, waiting for the drivers to come out into the cloudy afternoon skies. The sun's gone back in again. We never did get that rain. We still haven't had a wet race at all in 2026. Good to see the crowd allowed now onto the track to join in the podium celebrations too.
Quite the sight. It's a very short pit straight here. Looks like they're about to fill it completely.
Quite. So Colapinto held on for the final point ahead of Gasly, Lawson and Hulkenberg, all within about 2 seconds of each other. Ollie Behrman a bit further back. He had to stop twice, couldn't go to the end on the same set of hard tyres, was 14th ahead of Albon and Sainz. Ocon, Bottas and Alonso, the last classified finisher. We lost Stroll, Perez And Russell on the first lap from this race. There's the F1 CEO, Stefano Domenicali, to welcome the top 3 drivers into the call room.
Best one on the calendar.
For me, you see, Max is...
I'm so glad that you enjoyed this.
Yeah.
It's our pride in Belgium.
It's a very special track for sure.
So is it very hard?
Today wasn't so
The temperature
hard.
helped.
No.
Also today was a lot cooler, so it was nice actually.
It's good.
You seem very fresh, but...
They are great athletes, the best in the world.
Wow.
His Majesty, we have to go on the podium.
That's what we tell everyone.
Grandi ragazzi.
Grazie.
Yeah.
Thank you. I didn't see.
Oh, wow.
Oh. This one was
calculated.
What?
Was calculated.
Yeah. Well, go in the middle. Tidy and win.
But Lewis got a penalty.
Yeah, I think so.
Okay.
Or a very slow pit stop, but I think it was a penalty.
Yeah, for the contact, no?
You had 5 seconds.
The deployments were so different.
Yeah.
Again,
the
it's
start.
so annoying. The start and
When you were behind, I had to change my deployment.
I could see before last corner you were pulling away a little bit, no?
Yeah, because I was full out in the last corner.
And then turn 18, you were like releasing the brakes like crazy to try and get me out of overtake. So I was doing the same. And then we had.
The drivers beginning their debrief after meeting the King of Belgium alongside Stefano Domenicali as well. A treat for them. Especially Max, of course, who was born about 100 kilometres away from here in Hasselt in Belgium.
Yeah, to that question, he always says, I feel Dutch. I race as a Dutch driver.
He certainly does that as we will find out at Zandvoort for the Dutch Grand Prix and the Max Verstappen party for that weekend. There's plenty of the Orange Army here this weekend as well. So let's welcome the drivers onto the podium then, shall we? And a special podium for Max Verstappen as well, because this is the 300th podium finish for Red Bull as a Formula One constructor. They've had a few good years, haven't they? 111 poles, 130 wins, and in their 427th Grand Prix, their 300th podium. Charles Leclerc, who finished 3rd at the last 3 Belgian Grand Prix, goes one better this year. Ferrari's best result at Spa since he won here in 2019.
I think Charles is my driver of the day, actually.
I think most people's driver of the day as well, and I'm not going to disagree with that one iota. And here's a man who never ran higher than 14th during last year's Belgian Grand Prix and has never finished higher than 6th in F1 or F2 at this track. Well, he's finished P1 today, and he's back smiling again. Kimi Antonelli, the 49th World Championship race win for an Italian driver.
He certainly found a great way with these latest cars, hasn't he?
Getting used to that, the Italian and the German national anthems for Kimi Antonelli and for Mercedes. And His Majesty King Philippe with the trophy. I like this trophy as well. It's got all the previous winners of the Belgian Grand Prix and the World Championship on that trophy. It's a super one. Sparkling trophy, shall we say. I think Kimi Antonelli rather likes it too. Constructors' trophy will be presented in a moment, but the FIA President Medal first. Another gold medal for a gold star here in Formula One. Yeah, and there is the Constructors' trophy as well.
Sort of looks a bit like a camshaft, crankshaft, all sorts.
Yeah, it tastes a little better than that, Martin. Champagne bottle, I think. Although I don't think there's a cork in it.
No, I was meaning that. Oh, I see. It's a bottle, is it?
Yes.
Right.
Yeah, the trophy.
Yeah, I was just thinking, all I could see was camshafts.
See, and that's why you're a driver and I never was. I see champagne, you see camshafts. Well, what we have seen is another Mercedes victory and a race where George Russell has seen that 25 points that he thought was there to be closed down double up to 50 points. He's going back to the drawing board. And for the rest, well, Kimi Antonelli, Max Verstappen and Charles Leclerc going back to the celebrations. More podiums, more sparkles, more bubbles for Antonelli. What a season this is becoming for the young Italian. He wins here in Spa today.
Yeah, first man to win from pole here in Belgium since 2021. 49th World Championship race win for an Italian driver. And he did it, didn't he, in the end, with a little bit of comfort. Charles Leclerc getting a little bit lucky with the VSC, but showed really good pace. But Kimi, in the end, going past him on the Kemmel Straight and able to keep ahead of him. So you 1, 2, 3, Kimi Antonelli, Charles Leclerc and Max Verstappen here at the Belgian Grand Prix. Loads of analysis for us to get to. One more race though now before the summer break next weekend in Hungary.